Hey, Giselle.
Hi. I see you're in Beirut right now. Oh, no, there you are.
Evening.
Hey.
How's everybody doing?
Great,
Very good.
great, great. Looking forward to this.
Wonderful.
I think there's about 9 people, 10 people on all together.
Okay. Robert, whenever you're ready, I'll just kind of let you kind of direct. I think we're having a Q&A this evening. Is that?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
yeah, and I thought maybe somewhere along the line you might want to make some announcements about new stuff you have coming up.
Sure, absolutely.
And Giselle's here somewhere, aren't you, Giselle?
I am
Oh,
Hi,
you're
Giselle.
incognito. Okay.
incognito. I have my robe on and I'm so cozy. I'm just like, really? I mean, maybe I'll do a flash cameo. We'll see.
Yeah, let's have a
Okay.
flash cameo.
Oh, no, I was on video all day today. And it's like, I'm going to take a break from being on Zoom and cameras.
I'm
Okay.
drinking wine.
Okay, some people are still coming in here, William. Got about 12 people. Is everybody staying warm? Are you having winter where you are?
I'm in Maui. I just got back from the beach, excuse me.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Great.
I'm in Sedona, and we had snow the other day. It was in the 20s and low 30s. So the red rocks are beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures on Facebook of Sedona with beautiful snow. Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Let's see. I think we have about 13 people on with us.
Oh, wonderful.
Hey, Marina.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. Good to see you.
Did you have a good Christmas? Was the Russian Christmas on January 8th?
7th, you're right. We had first snow in Sedona on Orthodox Christmas, which was Sunday.
Oh, nice.
But I celebrate both for decades. So I get to celebrate even the old Russian New Year. There is such a thing by the old calendar. So the festivities begin in December and they are at least through mid-January. But who's counting? I'm inviting everyone to find your own ways to celebrate.
Nice. Do you
Better
see
picture of me that doesn't make me sound like
you
so
see the
crazy.
Halo poster, William?
I'm on mute. You're not muted.
Pardon me?
The Halo poster from Sedona.
Oh, hey, that's great.
I meant to give that to you. I didn't know if you wanted to take that with you, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. Maybe when next time I see you. Yeah, that's really nice. That was very cool.
Okay, there's about 15 people joined in now. I don't know if you want to start talking right away or share what's been going on over Christmas.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I hope everybody's been doing well since I saw some of you in person the 1st of December and the rest of you online. It's been a really quick month, and now here we are in 2024 off and running, and lots of excitement in the air as usual for a new year, but also anticipation of some just amazing things coming down the road. I think we're starting to see a lot of people are somewhat anxious, but then others are extremely hopeful. And I try to stay in that camp, of course. It's up to us. We're all players now in this incredible cosmic drama that's unfolding. And I've been working steadily now, developing my new approach, new presentations. I call it Star Walkers, which will kick off in Nashville actually in April. And Robert and I are anticipating getting together to do something in Sedona again, perhaps as soon as March, or perhaps later in the year, organizing a retreat, especially around the Star Walker material, which is sort of a segue from what I was doing with Halo. With the Halo event, it was a lot of focus on human transformation into celestial beings and angels. And along the way, especially these past few years, I've been doing more and more work on what you might call interdimensional beings and connecting with interdimensionals, and the recognition that there are cosmic beings that are very interested in what is happening on Earth right now and seeking to assist us in our unfolding planetary transition. And so I call those beings star walkers. And the idea is that they come from probably innumerable star systems, but in the Tibetan rainbow light body tradition in particular, they speak directly of 13 star systems. They never name them, unfortunately, but they tell us that the rainbow light body tradition is taught in 13 star systems, including our own. And when you go back through the mythological and spiritual texts, basically come to an immediate recognition that for sure Sirius, Orion, Pleiades, Arcturus, these are star systems that are mentioned over and over again. And so what I'm doing now with the Star Walkers is recognizing the existence of those beings and that they have been coming here, but also that we can have contact with them. And one thing that we talked about in Halo was activating the pineal gland, releasing dimethyltryptamine in particular, that opens a gateway into these other realms and enables contact with these Star Walkers. And so that's more and more becoming the focus of what I'm going to be doing. And I'm really excited about it because so many people are already having these contact experiences. They may or may not have a context in which to fit them in, especially if it's a spontaneous experience. But then other people are using entheogens. They're using, say, psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine, other of the things that are out there now. And they're having similar encounters and experiences with angels, light beings, avatars. And sometimes they have a way of contextualizing those encounters. Other times they don't even know who those beings are. And so I'm feeling it's a real calling right now to provide a context so that people that are having those experiences will be able to sort of understand the geography, map the geography, but also understand a little bit more about who it is exactly that they're dealing with in those experiences.
Nice.
And on top of that, I've been getting ready for my Southern France tour coming up in June. I see Brian and Terry are here. They'll be joining with us. I'm looking very much forward to that, where we'll be visiting Lourdes and experiencing the mystery and wonder of Lourdes, which I'm sure many of you are familiar that in 1858, the Mother Mary appeared as an apparition to a young girl named Bernadette Subaru, an illiterate, basically peasant girl, as they describe her. She didn't even know who she was when she was speaking to this being she called the White Thing. And it ended up being the Virgin Mary. And the Virgin Mary told her that she was going to be opening up a spring, a healing spring at Lourdes, and that people would come there for healing. And now, over a century later, 150 years later, millions of people go to Lourdes every year to experience the waters, to heal their physical body. It is the most incredible experience to go to Lourdes. It's like, I describe it as if the Mother Mary blew a bubble of magic and enfolded Lourdes within it. Because when you get to Lourdes, you go there as a human being, but you leave as something more. because it's the most human experience to be at this wonderful basilica and around these healing waters with thousands of people from all over the world. Literally every country is represented on any given day at Lourdes. And everyone has come there for the same reason. They're seeking a healing, be it a mental, physical, spiritual, or emotional healing. And it's a time to connect with your humanity. And you look at the people around you and you feel sometimes their pain, you feel their need for hope, and you are their hope. And we're all coming together and creating this just astonishing experience of oneness, true oneness. And it just somehow up levels your humanity. But when I first started going there about 10 years ago, I was very deeply interested in the light body connection, viewing Mary, the Mother Mary, as the first Christian to ascend, and studying the apparitions of Mary from the light body perspective, and recognizing that for centuries, there's been thousands, literally, of Marian apparitions around the world. But for some reason in particular, she focuses on the Pyrenees, which is the mountain range that separates France and Spain, and Lourdes is in the foothills of the Pyrenees. If you draw a line from Lourdes and you start traveling east, you're going to find yourself at near Carcassonne. You're going to find yourself in the Languedoc country where the Cathars lived. They believe they were the reincarnations of the Essenes, and they built amazing castles on top of these mountains.
Austin.
You continue and you end up in St. Baume, where Mary Magdalene lived out her last days. And all along that line, along the Pyrenees, are myths and stories, which they consider to be absolute fact of not only the ascension of Mary Magdalene, but all of these appearances over centuries of the Mother Mary as this luminous, radiant, humanoid being, bringing healing messages, and in the case of Lourdes, manifesting this healing spring. And I believe that Mary not only infused the waters of Lourdes with the healing frequency for our physical body or our emotional body, but also to amplify our light body. And so that is the perspective with which I lead the tours to Lourdes, and encouraging our guests to tap into that aspect of themselves. And then, of course, we continue on the line, going over, visiting the Cathar castles, go to the famous hilltop village, Rennes-le-Château, and then on over to St. Baume, and with a visit to the cave where Mary Magdalene is believed to have ascended from. So it's a true wonderland and a wondrous experience to go there. It's very much like, in my view, Colorado in the summertime. It's spectacularly beautiful, fresh air, amazing food, and you just connect with the land. But more importantly, you connect with what's been infused in the land over the past 2 millennia, as the Holy Family has gone there via Mary Magdalene, and ultimately the Mother Mary's appearances too. So I'm really excited about it, and can't wait to go back. It'll be, I think, my 16th or 18th time to visit the region, and it just keeps drawing me back. And I know that if you go, you'll want to go again and again too.
I think I'm already there.
Yeah.
Sounds
Awesome.
Amazing, William. So amazing.
Yeah.
So the Star Walkers material totally dovetails with what I was doing in Halo, and it's kind of it's taking it almost to another octave, really, because it's, as I expressed in Halo, it's a natural human ability. It's a natural human calling, this path of ascension. And what has been happening, at least in my experience, and I've been writing about this subject for over 20 years, is there's a definite acceleration that has been happening. 20 years ago, you very rarely would hear anybody saying anything about the idea of ascension and transformation, transfiguration, talking about the light body. It just was not part of the vernacular. But now it's all over the place. And you have a number of excellent teachers that are out there that are doing this work, and many millions of people, whether they're practicing yoga, meditation, using entheogens, whatever their path is, are all helping us to build this thought sphere around this idea of transformation. And in my view, and I don't talk about this as much anymore, but in the past 10 years, I was heavily and intensely focused on AI, transhumanism, archonic influence on human affairs. And it's become really apparent now. I mean, I'm really pleasantly surprised. And the reason why I don't talk about AI anymore is because everybody is now.
Yeah.
And back 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, when I really started talking about it, I was like a lone voice in the wilderness. People thought I had 3 heads. Like, what do you mean we're going to merge with AI and they're going to try and turn us into machines, and this is going to be the greatest spiritual challenge to face humanity? What are you talking about? I can barely turn on a computer, right? But now it is one of the primary conversations where we need a way to navigate through this. And that was part of the impetus of the Halo workshops, was to help people to connect with this understanding that we have the power to overcome this. We have to raise what I described as our ascension intelligence, our angelic intelligence. We've got to come up with new ideas and inspirations we haven't even thought of yet. And then we can begin to navigate these really kind of treacherous waters with AI and the possible archonic influence that's enfolded within. I mean, gosh, it's gone so mainstream that what was it, a couple of weeks ago, Tucker Carlson was even coming out and talking about extraterrestrials and even an archonic influence in spiritual human affairs. So, yeah, I mean, if Tucker Carlson's talking about it, it's mainstream. It's a huge, huge concern. And we are the ones that will decide in the next 2 years what is going to be the future trajectory of the human race. Are we going to go more towards the angelic side, or are we going to pursue the artificial path and an ascension of merger with AI, merger with technology, and ultimately not transfiguration into beings of light like the angels, but rather into a machine type of existence, and ultimately existing in a simulated reality in a black box somewhere? So the stakes couldn't be higher, and that's not to be a doom and gloom kind of scenario. I think you all are aware of this and are looking for answers for yourselves and also for your loved ones. And to me, the answer is always spiritual.
Indeed.
So I didn't want to just kind of talk. I'm hoping we can have a little Q&A if you would like. And so if anybody has any topics they would like to address or discuss, please raise your hand and let's talk about it.
Okay. Hi. Can you hear me? Or you can't? Okay. Hi, I'm Mary Ann. I'm in Florida, and on the topic of what you've just been speaking, I would like to first of all thank you so much for your teaching, or the way you teach through art history and the symbols, because I kind of spent a good part of my life looking for some explanation of what was going on in a lot of paintings in particular all through the ages. And you're the first person, I think, only person I think that has taught that. And some of the things that are coming to light now and that are more mainstream, I think quite possibly is because you have been teaching it, and that maybe it's not credited back to you, or maybe people aren't even aware, but that you've put the thoughts and ideas out there and they're kind of being picked up in the zeitgeist, so to speak.
Well, thank you, Mary Ann. Yeah, I have such a passion for the art. You're talking about some of the greatest geniuses and heroes of all human history. And they weren't just incredible painters or artists, they were seekers like you and I, or they had been trained specifically in the language of symbolism and how to literally hide in plain sight what typically a religious or political authority would not find acceptable.
Exactly.
Then layer on what we now know about the neuroscience of art, that when you're looking at an image of Jesus transfiguring, that
Mhm.
part of you is also doing that as well. It just creates a really powerful tool. And people always often ask me, well, what is your practice? And I say, well, I sit and look at pictures all day. And
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
kind
They're
of
their own magic.
you get it. And the power is there. And now when you layer, again, the neuroscience and the quantum physics of quantum entanglement on top of that, it is so powerful and it's truly unlimited. And that phrase, a picture's worth 1,000 words is true. And maybe they're worth more than 1,000 words, because you can have a relationship with artists and images that continually evolve as you evolve. I'm always seeing new things in art and imagery. And I must have a database of, I don't know, 5,000 paintings in my database. And I never get tired of going through that. I'm continually going through it and looking for new layers, new symbols, new perspectives that are there that I didn't see before. And it's always such an exciting moment to find something like that. One example is I would use an image of John the Revelator receiving the book from the mighty rainbow angel. It's a medieval image, and I used it for years and years and years. The artist is anonymous. We don't know who did it, but it illustrates an image from the book of Revelation where the mighty rainbow angel is handing John the Revelator this book. And I always locked on to the mighty angel who has this rainbow halo around his head or like a turban, and locked onto the book. And the book is given to John and it tastes like honey, suggested that it could be some sort of an entheogen or some sort of hallucinogenic substance that he's eating, because what other book do you eat that suddenly illuminates your consciousness except some sort of a hallucinogen? And then one day I was doing one of my Halo presentations in Nashville, and one of the guests in the audience said, well, wait, look at there's a psilocybin mushroom right beside the rock, beside where John the Revelator is sitting. And I just hadn't seen that before. And
Wow.
it was just such a connection to what I was talking about in that presentation. And it just goes to show, I mean, we need eyes on all of this. And you're right. I think as we try to increase our toolkit, you've got meditation, you've got yoga, you've got breathing, you've got all these other tools. But really, to me, sacred art, especially Renaissance art, is where it's at. They had the codes. They actively sought the codes. I mean, the de Medici sought this knowledge, and then they taught it to some of the greatest artists of all time, from Michelangelo to Botticelli to others. And walking into a church in Italy is not, for me, walking into a church. It's walking into a gallery. It's walking into a literal book that has encoded within it all of this knowledge that we're all seeking. It's there. We just have to be able to open our eyes and our hearts to be able to perceive it. So I'm really glad you enjoy that, Mary Ann, because I sure do too.
Thanks. Yeah. And once you show me, like in one piece of art, I can start seeing it across a spectrum through the ages of, oh, that's what I've been looking at all this time. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, pretty cool.
And
Yeah.
not to get on a soapbox here, but something that I'm seeing more and more is if I'm searching for an image or something like that in sacred art, I'm seeing more and more AI art pop up. And it makes me just kind of somewhat, remorse that, as these search engines and algorithms work, they're going to favor the AI. And we cannot lose our sacred connection through the art. We have to keep all of that alive, because it's just so profoundly illuminating.
Hi, William. How are you?
Terrific. How are you?
Doing well. I have a question. When you meditate on the art,
Uh-huh.
you do an open eye meditation for a period of time?
I do. Yeah, I'll be rotating images on my screen. And of course, I have the benefit of almost always working on a presentation. So I'm spending hours and hours cycling through the art, looking at it. But you don't have to do that. I mean, a practice could be as little as 5 minutes a day of connecting with the art, with the intention of the artist, and placing yourself into the scene that is being presented, and really trying to think about what would be the feeling or the emotion of the people that are involved. And I'm calling to mind here, just again on this idea of the power of the art. I had worked for Robert Downey Jr. on the Iron Man movie.
Right.
And then that led into doing work on a couple other movies with him, and eventually meeting Mel Gibson. And I was just like ecstatic when I found out that Mel Gibson was going to be doing the sequel to Passion of the Christ. Because in Passion of the Christ, he packed tens of millions of people into the movie theater, into the new temples, and gave them a visceral encounter of the suffering of Christ on the cross. And all I wanted to do was show Mel Gibson my slideshow of Christ transfiguring into light, and implore him that he has an incredible opportunity to place people in the new temple and give them a visceral experience of the transfiguration, and the power that that could have would be just inestimable to me. That if you got millions or tens of millions of people all focusing on a light body metamorphosis, that it would impact them physically. And I'm not saying it's going to cause people to suddenly begin to transfigure, but it could. I mean, it could definitely kickstart something.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because I was kind of curious how you use the art, because I'm used to doing a closed-eyed meditation,
Yeah,
a silent meditation.
right.
So I'm like, okay, how do I incorporate that?
Yeah. So what you would want, and there's a couple of these are on my website. If you just Google the word transfiguration on my website, williamhenry.net, you can find an image of, say, Padmasambhava in his rainbow light body, or even Christ in his transfiguration body. You particularly are looking for images where you make eye to eye or soul to soul contact. The eyes are the window to the soul, so you want to keep them open. Okay.
Right.
And the idea is that as avatars, as energetic beings, a Padmasambhava, Mother Mary, Christ, they can all make that soul to soul connection with you through the image. This is why the Gnostics used expressions like enter through the image, and the image will show you the way. That was the original name for Christianity, the way. And they didn't have the written text. They weren't interested in the written text. They were creating images, icons that they believed were sacred mirrors, two-way channels of communication, where initiates could connect with Christ or the angels through the image and begin to receive that vibration, and then taking it forward into their own selves and internalizing it, then would kickstart that process of transfiguration. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question also. I'm just fascinated with all of your information about biblical times and everything concerned about it. My question is about the Nephilim, and somebody sent me a video. It was on TikTok though, and it was during I just looked for it and it's been taken off. So, but it was a video, somebody was videotaping a thunder and lightning storm.
Okay.
And when the lightning lit up the sky, you could see the form of a 60 to 70-foot man walking, and he had like a walking stick, but he looked like a biblical time person. And you could, and he even, and he went to the left, turned around, and then he went to the right. And you could see it with where he changed every time the lightning lit up the sky. And his hand even moved down the walking stick at one point. So it looked like it was it was really happening. It wasn't anything projected. And the only thing I was wondering about Nephilim, if that has anything to do. I mean, it could have been, it looked like a Moses time to me.
Yeah, I've never seen a description of the Nephilim as being lightning or plasma.
Well, it wasn't lightning. It's the lightning just lit up the sky so you could see his shadow.
Okay, that's very interesting. I can't say. I've been very interested in the Nephilim and that whole concept. It ties in with my research on the rainbow light body and cloak of light or garment of light idea.
Huh?
The connection is that the Nephilim were called the mighty ones. And that word has been often translated as giants rather than mighty ones. And there's a big difference. The Nephilim are described as are the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki are the progenitors of the Nephilim more than likely.
Oh,
They equate with the fallen angel idea of the Old Testament, and also that the Essenes wrote about as well. But the word the mighty ones connection, they're called mighty ones because they possessed a transmittable cloak or garment that the Anunnaki or these angels brought with them that they could then transmit to humanity. So any human being, I'm 5'11", I could acquire this cloak or garment and become a mighty one or a giant. It doesn't mean I would be suddenly 8 or 10 feet tall. And so I try to be careful when talking about the Nephilim to make that distinction and make sure that we're really clear that they were called the mighty ones, not because of their enormous height, but because of this transmittable cloak or garment that gave them these supernatural powers.
yeah, it was amazing to see. And I had to watch it about 3 times. I thought, this is amazing because it looked like a real person. And it was with biblical clothing, all the way to the ground. And the way, and it was like a being walking.
Yeah,
And it was just amazing. But he was huge. It had to have been 60, 70 feet tall.
wow. Yeah, they do talk about some of these fallen angels as having that enormous type of a height, even being miles high. So that seems like an exaggeration, but who knows? It could be possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Zoe, did you want to have a question?
Yeah. I guess I'm wondering about your thoughts on the Bible as being metaphor for how the human body works. And I just see also in a lot of the art as well, sort of, yeah, I can see it trying to tell us it's how the brain is working. I just see these images over and over and over again in all these different works of art, especially the Egyptian art, but also, early Renaissance, late Renaissance, and some medieval art. And I just feel like they're trying to tell us something about how our body operates. And I mean, I'm assuming you know this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Joseph Campbell was the great 20th century mythologist. And as he pointed out, there are 7 levels of interpretation for all myth, scripture, sacred texts. You have the literal, the historical, the metaphorical, the symbolic. Then you also have the astronomical. And you also then have the anatomical. And then the seventh is the anagogical. And the word anagogical refers to our ascension.
Okay.
And so you get a lot of people that get hung up. For example, they say, oh, William, Christ never existed. He's just the son. This is all just astrotheology. Okay. And my reply is, great. Okay. So you mastered one of the 7 levels of interpretation of that text. Now talk to me about the other 6. And they're clueless. They're just clueless. And it's typically because they've had like a horrible experience with the church growing up, or they're just angry, or, whatever. It's real easy to take out a hatchet and start whacking at people's trees, okay, to get attention. So I think it's vital that we start to look at all myth and scripture, not just the Bible, and try to view it through all 7 of those lenses. And perhaps the most important is the anatomical. And I was fortunate to read Joseph Campbell early as I started doing my research, and in the early 90s. And then by 1999, I had written a book called God Making, which is about the myths of the anatomical function of our body and how it's described in sacred texts and myths. And one of the key examples that opened that up for me was the story of Jacob's ladder. I talked about this briefly in Halo, or in Christos rather, this as an example where Jacob lays his head on a stone, falls into a dream, sees a ladder reaching into the heavens with angels ascending and descending on either side, goes up into the heavenly realms, sees God, or El, as he's described in the book of Genesis, comes back down, wakes up from the dream, and says, awesome or terrible is this place. Terrible in this context meaning awesome. This is none other than the gate to God, and this is the gate to heaven. Then he places a pillar on that spot and anoints the pillar with oil. Okay. So this is the early 90s. We haven't really started talking about the Philosopher's Stone and some of these ideas then, but I go over to my Gray's Anatomy. Some of you might have a copy of that book. It's a handy book to keep as a reference while you're reading the Bible or any other mythical text. And I look up the word Jacob, and it turns out there are 10 layers of our retina of our eye. And 9 of them are labeled with Latin medical terms. The 10th layer is called Jacob's layer.
Huh.
And from that, I just began to wonder, are they talking about the eye? Is Jacob's ladder somehow connected with Jacob's layer? And I mean, Jacob's layer is named after some anatomist that researched the eye. So it's not necessarily a historical reference, it's a synchronicity, but I think it's a valid one to at least consider. This is where, by the way, the whole idea of tithing 1/10 comes from as well. The church tells you that if you're going to be a good church member, you must tithe 1/10 of your earnings, your gross earnings, to the temple or to the church. And this is where it comes from, this 1/10. And so that is a completely different understanding of the story when you start to think, well, wait a minute, maybe there's something I can kickstart within my own self so that I can perhaps go into a lucid dream and see this ladder, or perhaps there's a mystical functioning of my eye that I haven't previously been aware of that I can awaken so that I can see what's already around me at all times. So this is, again, a really useful application of the mystic anatomy concept. And then, of course, later in the 1990s, my dear friend, Sir Lawrence Gardner comes along, and we start talking about the stone that Jacob laid his head on is in fact the pineal gland.
Right. Yeah.
6 years later, after he publishes his first book about this, we get the Israeli photos of the electron microscope photos of the pineal gland, and come to find out it's covered with crystals. It's literally a stone. And we start thinking about our pineal gland as the philosopher's stone that secretes the life-giving waters, the living waters, and other hormones and molecules that can, including dimethyltryptamine, that open gateways in our consciousness. Now, all of a sudden, that story of Jacob laying his head on a stone is an anatomical reality that we can duplicate. And not that I have duplicated that, but that is the potential that you find there. And to me, that was always, and not to name names, but I would argue with David Icke about this, for example, back in the 90s. It's like, look, man, you can bet you want all day long, but ultimately, we got to find a way to navigate our way through this and activate the latent capabilities within us. And it makes more sense to me to put our energy and emotion on that, as opposed to just, I don't care what Rockefeller did what to what Rothschild, that's just not the gig that is really gonna, I think, get us where we want to go. It's probably important to know, but what that question you're asking, that is the ultimate question. How do I get this thing to
Yeah.
work? How do
Right, at will. Do you know anyone who can do this at will?
That is,
That's
that
my
is-
big question.
yes. Well, anecdotally, I do, yeah. But that is what, and this is a big flip that has happened just in the past, say, 5 to 7 years. I largely credit, for example, the work of Joe Dispenza and others that are
Yeah.
actively pursuing this precise question right now. And it is starting to happen. And it might seem like it's slow going, but it's accelerating. And every day now, millions and millions of people are practicing this. How do I activate my neurosecretory system? The ancients knew how to do it. You're absolutely right. It's encoded in sacred art. The mysteries are there. They're known. And perhaps there's been a metaphysical time lock on this type of a thing. And now is the time where we start to activate these latent capabilities. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah. Well, I could talk about this for hours, but I'll let somebody else.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being here and for, asking the question. It's the most important question right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing. It's so fascinating.
Thank you.
Someone else want to take a question?
Don't have a question, just as a comment to William, was that kind of bracketing your Halo class was just the synchronicities are and the mythological is just off the charts before and right after. Just was pretty amazing. So
That's great.
we're looking forward to coming back here, Sedona.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting times. And I'm just on the edge of my seat personally, and just activated, really. That especially the Christos weekend in Sedona was just magnificent, and it's like set me off in some really powerful directions, and just super excited.
And we got our tickets to France.
You got your tickets to France? Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, be so exciting to be there with you guys.
Well, I'm still thinking about it.
I hope you join us, Cindy. I mean, it's just magical. And
It would be magical if I could get Marguerite to be my roommate this time. Now life would be better.
Yeah, Cindy's mentioning an inside, not a joke, but a wonderful experience. She came to visit myself and my partner Julie here in Phoenix, and I had been doing some journey work, and I was working with the Mother Mary, and she was giving me some orders from headquarters kind of a thing. And then Cindy arrives, and she gives me a copy, I mean, so kind, of Marguerite Riglioso's book. I'll read it, the title, The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. Okay.
But I just happened to take off of my bookcase and bring.
Yes, Cindy just happened to bring it, And so Marguerite is 10 years ago, I think that's when she wrote her PhD dissertation. She's a scholar of the Mother Mary, and especially focusing on parthenogenesis, okay, which is virgin birth. This is conception of a child without male interaction, okay? And I'm not an expert on Marguerite's work by any stretch, but essentially, her idea is that there was and this is academic information, it's not channeled, that there is a group of priestesses, probably connected with the Pleiades, who brought an original stellar religion to Earth, which I'm looking at that going, yeah, I get that. That's the Star Walker, the original Star Walker revelation. These priestesses come to Earth, and through parthenogenesis, they create, I would use the word clone, copies of themselves, female copies of themselves, and
Right.
implement the first matriarchal religion, which is about ascension. Okay, they're here on a mission to basically lift up the human race, enabling us to become like them. And that is in a couple of sentences, kind of the core piece of what Marguerite is presenting. Well, I'm reading this and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, that perfectly dovetails with what I've been saying about the Mother Mary. She's the first Christian to ascend. And all of this art that portrays the ascension of Mary portrays her exactly the way the Tibetans portray the rainbow light body, the dissolving of the human flesh and blood body into light, so then it can, to use a Star Trek term, beam to another planet, phase back into a physical flesh and blood body, and carry on. And this helps to explain the apparitions of Mary, as I mentioned earlier, is that she has attained this, she's an avatar, and she's attained this level of being where now she has ascended, and she can now manifest in a light body and be perceived, even be photographed, as she was in 1968 in Cairo, when hundreds of thousands of people saw her. And I've got 2 new articles on my website about this, by the way, Gathering of the Star Walkers. And then the second one is directly about this subject I'm speaking of right now, about the Mother Mary as a Star Walker from Pleiades and parthenogenesis. So I'm reading Marguerite's book and I'm going, wait a minute. I mean, this perfectly dovetails with what I'm saying. And the picture that emerges is that, just imagine it this way. Mary is from the Pleiades. Okay, maybe it's a place of origin. Perhaps she comes from the galactic center or some other realm, but the Pleiades seems to be like the depot, okay, the portal into Earth. She manifests on the Earth plane, beaming in as a light being, phases into a physical flesh and blood body, duplicates herself through parthenogenesis,
Right.
and then reverses the process in her ascension, and then goes back to wherever she comes from, but can phase back and forth at will as an avatar. That is a whole new octave, okay? And I spoke with Marguerite today. Cindy was kind enough to put us together, and I spoke with her today, and we're working on a plan to intermesh what we're doing. And we're both tremendously excited about it because she has a very academic approach. This is not woo-woo channel anything. This is real footnoted information. Someone could argue, well, you know, maybe the original footnote was channeled. Well, okay, you can have
She
that.
doesn't channel.
But
I-
she's
I-
not a channel. No.
I've known her for 10 years.
Yeah.
She doesn't channel.
And it's a profound revelation, and we're both just buzzing about the potential of marrying the pun intended, I guess, her understanding of the Marian apparitions, parthenogenesis, tribe of female priestesses, bringing this knowledge in, and then putting it together with my light body / Star Walker material, and suddenly it's got this frequency about it that is just palpable, and can't wait to share that with you. So it's
I
just,
am so excited. I mean, I had this 2 years ago when you were both at the same conference, but you just kind of came in and you had to leave.
yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I want to hear that. I want to hear them talk. I said, I need to see them on a panel, or I knew you guys needed to cooperate in some way. So I'm really glad that that's coming together.
Oh, me too. Thank you, Cindy, so much. And I
You're welcome.
can only perhaps not convey just my excitement about it. I wish I could give you more detail. But
That's
I promise you, you really want to be on the lookout for when Marguerite and I present this together. And we'll be having an opportunity to do that sometime, hopefully here in the near future, because it's so revelatory. It's so right on. It has so many implications, and it answers so many questions, and pulls on so many threads. But what I love about it is that it's feminine based, and that from the very beginning puts us on the right frequency. Although, as she points out, and in fact others have pointed out too, Alexander the Great, Plato, Aristotle, Jesus, they're all special children that were born parthenogenically
right.
for this priestesshood, and the
I
purpose
doesn't,
is to
didn't
accelerate or
she,
stimulate human evolution.
but doesn't she also believe that Mary's mother
Yes.
had her the same way?
Yes, and this is what's so interesting too about her work, and she goes into this in the mystery tradition of the miraculous conception, that this is part of a lineage that
Right.
not only includes Mary, but Mary was also conceived and born this way.
Yes.
And it goes all the way back to
And John the Baptist.
John the Baptist was as well. It goes back to the story of Abraham and Sarah. And I'm also of the opinion, and I haven't asked Marguerite about this yet, but there's the biblical story of Samson. He's another of these children that are conceived when a being of light appears to the mother who's barren, says, you're going to bear this child, and the child is going to be, in Samson's case, the king of the Nazarites, and will be an instrumental figure in Jewish history and so forth. So they've been like carefully cultivating this lineage for millennia.
It's exciting.
It's tremendously exciting. And you just get the feeling as you're getting into this material that we're in really good hands. that there's this loving and compassionate presence that most are unaware of. And again, and this is what I started seeing and feeling and experiencing at Lourdes 10 years ago. And now to then connect it with Marguerite's work on that academic level and see, wait a minute, there's a major plan here. All these apparitions at Lourdes and elsewhere are part of this plan to wake us up to this interdimensional reality and for contact with these beings. I mean, we talk about UFO disclosure and, my work with ancient aliens these past 12 years, really important. But I put this work that Marguerite has put forward way up here. Everything that I've been doing is like, is elementary school preparation for understanding the potential and the possibility of what this story really, really means.
I am looking forward to whatever you two manage to put together. And I tell you what, if I ever doubt I have a purpose, at least I started my year with that purpose.
Yeah, and I thank you. Yeah, it's a great story the way it happened. And again, if it has so many implications again in the idea of ascension, and particularly, as women, and most of the guests tonight, of course, are women, the appreciation of what the female body can do. I mean, we're talking about mystic anatomy, my gosh. And you think of the potential there, and you're looking for a next perhaps particle or a next step in your journey as on the divine feminine path. I would highly recommend getting a copy of Marguerite's book and at least giving it a consideration, because I think you'll actually.
Yeah, and that's one of her shorter versions. And
yeah,
some of her other books are a little bit, more academic.
They are. Yeah, they're definitely more for specialists, but there's so many nuggets in there. And you
This
realize,
is an easy read. It's an ease for anybody that's interested. It's an easy read.
yeah, I read it in a day.
Yeah.
So and I was excited, and I know you would be too. And but it's the type of thing you can literally read in a day and just all of a sudden go, whoa, wait a
Right.
minute, this puts a whole new, opens a
Yeah.
whole new window that,
Coming out with another book soon, I think.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
She
So,
mentioned, yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So,
well, I don't want to dominate it anymore, but
no,
I'm
that's fine, but it just is, you know, an affirmation to me of how this path will expand, okay? So what we were doing in Christos is just a start for some really awesome material that will be coming out here in the next few months.
well, I'm anxiously waiting for it.
Right, so thank you again for asking.
You're welcome.
Can I ask, does she talk about the consciousness of the mother going into the child at all?
The mother going into the child?
The consciousness of the mother going into the child?
She
Does-
doesn't, as I've seen so far, doesn't specifically talk about that, but she's very clear that the intention of these priestesses in their priestesshood was to be able to literally create a copy of themselves. And in my article, I said,
Yeah.
can you think of a more elegant way to travel the cosmos than to be able to dissolve your body into light here in, well, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and say, I just want to go to Sirius. So I beam myself to Sirius. There's a planet there. The Dogon tell us there's one there anyway. And then I can phase into a physical flesh and blood body while I'm there. And if I'm a female, I can then make a duplicate of myself without male interaction. And
Yeah.
now I can further interact with the family. So the consciousness, I would suggest, could probably be transferred. I don't see any problem with why that couldn't be so.
Well, the consciousness is transferred. I mean, there's tons of science behind that. The consciousness of a mother goes directly into her child's. So an ascended being having a child could produce some sort of messianic individual is what I'm thinking.
Totally.
But also the virgin birth, that's also scientifically proven.
Yes, it is.
Because the only thing you need to have an egg start to become human is to penetrate the wall of an egg. So once the cell is broken, life starts. But if there's no external DNA input, it's a clone of the mother.
Right.
And my understanding is that those humans are infertile, though. That's my understanding. So so very interesting stuff. Thank you.
It really is. And you start to look back at the priestesses at Delphi and elsewhere, all of the Greek myths are based on this. It's really astonishing. And you realize, I mean, I've been interested, obviously, in the divine feminine for a long time. Wrote a book about Mary Magdalene in 2005. And it goes back to the 90s. And so I've tried to appreciate her story as much as history. And you realize that there's definitely been this heinous effort to wipe out the divine feminine, their knowledge and their powers. And this just takes it to a whole nother level. So, yeah.
So exciting.
Very exciting. So any other questions or comments? Robert, want to again give you props for organizing this event this evening and all the work that you do to bring everybody together. It's really special.
Yeah, thank you. I've got something to say since the last event. You know, I think wearing my Lucky Jesus shirt really helped a lot somehow. But no, all kidding aside, some really exciting things have kind of very fluidly and just like a flow of its own without much energy. You know, I needed a couple more speakers for the event I'm doing in April.
Mhm.
which you will be at, and that's 19 through 21. And Sacha Stone popped up and said he would come here in February. And then so I was trying to get a description and a title, you know, what he would talk about. And he said, well, I want to talk about my New Earth project, which was just mentioned. You know, you were talking about the New Earth and the new church at the weekend. And then I said, okay, so what would the rest of the weekend be talking about? And he said, well, I want to speak about the ascension process connected with the New Earth project. I was like, really? Oh, that's interesting. And you're thinking about coming up here February, right? Possibly pop
Yes.
in.
Yeah, I've never met Sasha Stone, and I would love to hang out or, you know, do a presentation, whatever.
Yeah, so he's into that idea. We're just still finishing up the details for that next month. And what was the other thing? There was the New Earth project. Oh, well, then I had these other ladies who were very into Rosalind Chapel and Mary Magdalene that may want to come speak in March. But then that kind of got redirected back to maybe we'll have you up here at that time, but we gotta check into that first. But
Yeah.
the article you sent me about Magdalene, that was just what we're talking about tonight,
Yeah.
is a mind blower, because that's
It-
way further than sci-fi.
It really is, but it's true. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's at a frequency that just captivates and also gives so much hope and shows you, yeah, this, you know, the new earth is really an octave, is another way of expressing that. And in my view, that's what we're starting to hear, the notes of that octave.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
the articles on my website, williamhenry.net. It's the two most recent articles.
Right.
yeah, that was a very cool article. I really enjoyed that, and I could see how that could overlay with a lot of different things that we're talking about doing up here, with doing a retreat out in the nature and getting in
Yeah.
contact with the stars. That's going to be very cool.
Yeah, this is something Robert and I, as part of the Star Walker program, I made a vow to myself 10 years ago, I think maybe when I turned 50 or something, that I like when I was living in Nashville and now I'm here in Phoenix, I made a vow, I want to see the Milky Way at least once a year for the rest of my life. and connect with the galactic center and recognize my role and run to the river, as I describe it, the Milky Way being the river of life. And so I'm starting to seek out these locations where you can experience the Milky Way. And this is going to be like starting Sedona, Grand Canyon. We're talking about like Lake Powell, Zion, places in America where you can go and have these just powerful experiences with the Milky Way. Talk about star lore. Yeah, maybe, you know, drop in a little bit if you choose to enhance the experience. Do some lectures about the Star Walkers and just have a 3 to 5 day getaway for a reset and connect, especially with the Milky Way and make contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Oh, awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah, awesome.
I just
Yeah.
feel so just have a calling. It wants to be in those, be in those frequencies, be in that light and just experience it. And, you know, so we all know that, you know, with all the light pollution, that we're so disconnected from the stars and especially from the Milky Way. Few people, you know, get a chance to actually see it. But, you know, maybe it's, you know, a sign of me getting older as 61. I want to connect. I want to be in those beautiful places and under the stars and connecting with that consciousness as well.
You can see it here, William, in Maui. I'm in Maui.
Where? Oh, Maui, of course.
Maui. You can
Yeah.
see it, yeah, every
Yeah.
night. Well, mostly in the summer, yeah.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that right? I was on Kauai last summer.
Okay.
And I had some beautiful experiences, but I didn't get to see the Milky Way, so maybe I have to hop over to Maui.
Yeah, well, Kauai, it rains a lot more, so it might, I don't know what the sky was like over there.
That's what I was gonna say. I didn't want to be negative and say, yeah, it rained almost the whole time we were there.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Come in the summertime and the skies are crystal clear. It's like crystal.
Imagine, beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
you can see it in Sedona also, over by
Wow.
Cathedral Rock. Yep, it's an international dark sky community too,
Okay.
so it
Yeah.
stays pretty dark everywhere.
That's why Robert and I were talking about doing like a first retreat in Sedona.
Mhm.
Because you can have that dark sky, and so very excited about it. Last time I saw it was in England. I was in Wiltshire.
Oh,
That was 2 summers ago. And it's just so awe-inspiring. The year before that, I was at Mount Shasta. So there's lots of places, but for the average person, they have to go away from where they live, like myself, in order to have that experience. And some of us are
right.
fortunate to be able to have that all the time.
Yeah, we have a couple of indigenous speakers that could do some star lore and hang with us. You know, you wanted some Hopi and possibly Zuni medicine person. So we got that set up too, and they're coming out for Sacha's thing. So they'll be talking about the prophecy rock, which is very similar to, you know, humanity has to make a choice of
Right.
which way they want to go.
This is my cat, Kaz.
Hi,
Oh,
Taz.
You want to say hello?
Hi,
beautiful.
Taz.
You want to
Oh.
say hi, Kaz? Just say hi real quick, Kaz. Now she just wanted me to talk. Okay, Kaz.
So Robert, can you get those dates out for those events?
Yeah.
Because I think I'm going to be back in Sedona in April.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be
You
getting those
stay
out
away.
really soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we're working on that now. And do you have the Sasha Stone? Do you have your Sasha Stone dates?
The Sasha Stone is going to be next month, the 16th to the 18th, and he'll also come to the conference in April. But the 16th to the 18th is more like a thing we did with William, where it's just a intimate gathering, not a big group of people, just a smaller group of people.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think we'll have William there that weekend too, at least doing something with him. And we'll be having a live stream for that as well. So people could tune into the live stream. And he's got some cool projects. I've been talking about doing some projects with Randall Carlson, where we buy some land and we build a school, and everything, all the messages are coded in to the construction of the school, which is really great. But Sacha actually has that in motion, and he has a property in Bali, and he has a new project going in Mexico, down in Quintana Roo. So he's going to be making a premiere announcement about that, and we're bringing the Hopi brothers down to talk about Prophecy Rock.
Right. Wonderful.
Yeah, very cool. And that's going to dovetail into a lot of the things that we were going to do, William, because you know, we'll have the same guys coming with us to do the star lore and that kind of thing.
Right on.
So, yeah, it's all crossing over, is what I mean. It seems very fluid and like it all connects together like it should.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
if there's no other questions, I guess we'll wrap up for this evening. Does that sound okay?
Could I comment, William? Can I say hi?
Of course.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to share a little bit with what I've gotten out of your work in the last probably 10 years.
Okay.
Went through the Kundalini in 2006, ended up finding Javalo's work, Flower of Life. And I continued on with him through his new teachings, Living in the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into actually activating the light body halo, but he didn't give, in his workshops, there's no backfill, there's no information about where it comes from, how it works. It's just, you do this and you're on, and we have to keep going forward because it's a very quick 4-day intense workshop. Then things start happening. I keep working with material, and I was seeking answers for why I was able to do certain things, what my experiences were. And I came across you, and all of your work makes more sense to me and my experiences that I've had happen from the halo, from working with the heart to the halo connection, to even activating everything you're talking about from Alexandria, the introduction of the halo to the rainbow body and up
Right.
into the Skywalkers. I just wanted you to know there's a few of us out here that actually have figured out a working path to get a lot of that done.
Beautiful. Well, thank
And
you.
I'm one of those people. Like, I actually kind of can openly teach you how to do aspects of the ascension.
Beautiful. Well, maybe you can, like, Robert can share your, any like contact or website or.
Yeah, I actually have a working program. I
Mhm.
actually just teach in my school each Monday. We're just kind of doing it.
Cool.
But there is a real working path, and because I was trying to solve for things that Drimbalo gave us the experience, there wasn't a lot of how to, or where's this information coming from, or
Yeah.
so I did dig in deep for like the last 10 years trying to backfill and explain for myself these things, and a lot of your research really clicks. I love watching your presentations. I think I've combed every one of your presentations you offered on YouTube and Gaia, and I do want to make one of your Nashville tours when you offer those again. I have to get there. I'm up here in Wisconsin.
Okay.
It's just I just wanted you to know that some of us are really trying to pick up the ball and do our work with what you
Yeah.
offer out there.
That,
And your Halo presentations. Have you ever gotten feedback on people who actually have a halo and the experiences of and the perceptions of and what's happening from a
No.
first person? Okay, that's something I work with quite a bit,
Great.
because when you activate the halo, Dravalos says that it used to be a coming of age. I don't know if it's ritual is the right word, but it used to be a coming of age to reset the energies to when you came through as a child.
Hmm.
Basically, puberty messes up all of your abilities in the third eye, and to reset them reactivates you as a young adult to have all the perceptions of the third eye available to you.
Hmm.
And that's a piece we've been kind of exploring, and it's just interesting. I don't know, you do a lot of workshops, to talk with a lot of people. If you'd ever had people give you feedback in comparison to like your work, and I have really picked up studying your paintings and a lot of your slideshows, to glean a lot of those other messages through it. There's just a lot of really good things you guys are doing, and you're moving ahead, and sometimes a little fast for where I'm at now. But because I'm trying to piece together, well, how the heck did they do this? If this was a ritual, if this was teachable,
Right.
from, teachable,
Yeah.
where are those instructions? Like, do I have
Yeah,
to get in
exactly.
some cool kids club, So I'm out here, I know
I
there's
get
a few
that.
of us out here really trying to do that,
Totally.
and your work really kind of helps me keep going with that. I just
I'm
wanted to
so
thank
glad.
you for that. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you for the compliment. I accept that as a real high compliment, because I mean, I see my role kind of like a historian, mythologist. I see all
Yeah.
these people, you mentioned Drumbalo, and I mentioned like Joe Dispenza. You got people
Right.
doing entheogens or yoga, meditation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like having a 6-pack on the table here, and you're drinking this one, drinking that one, drinking
Yeah.
that one. but I'm trying to provide the plastic thingy that holds the 6-pack together. You know,
Okay,
that
yeah,
gives it a
yeah, the glue. Yeah,
context and a sort of a, not, I don't want to use the word meaning because that's a very personal thing, but I started to see that it's like, wait a minute, there's these different modalities. You can drink this, do that, stand on your head, whatever.
right.
But isolated, that, is not as effective as if you have that plastic thing, and that plastic thing is like the yoga, really.
Yeah.
They call it a yoke, and that's what the word yoga means. That's why I call it a
Yeah,
yoga.
to
The
yoke,
yoke
yeah.
that holds it together. We need that sort of big picture, and that's what I've tried to provide. So, when you tell me that, it makes me feel like I've helped to do my job. So
Good, yeah.
Well, I
I
can
hope to
add to,
connect with you somewhere along the way at a workshop or something.
look forward to it.
Great, thank you.
I can add to that, Ed, because I was teaching Drembelo's workshop in Japan. So, and I found exactly the same issue as you did, that the information that he gives about the halo isn't it's not very in depth. And all
No.
the other stuff is great and initiatory, but I think William's work is more advanced there in that area for sure.
Yeah, your comment of initiatory is key. It's an initiation.
Yeah.
And then it's up to the practitioner to pick it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Beautiful. All right. Well,
William, can I share just a quick story after being with you
yes, please.
in Sedona?
Yeah, of course.
This is Cornelia. Nice to see everyone again.
You got to.
I just wanted to let you all know that when we were all in that last training, I had just started a 3,000-mile pilgrimage by car, and my first stop was Bryce Canyon, but my second stop was Sedona, and it was a working pilgrimage, but nonetheless, it was about 3 weeks on the road. And I had told some friends that I was going to be doing this trip. And one of them, who unfortunately, tragically had lost her son 2 years ago, said to me, listen, I'd really like to come and join you in Sedona and then join you for your trek to Malibu, and then I'll fly home. And so we finish up the weekend workshop, and I should just say that I had never heard of William Henry. This is all new to me, and I told you this, William. It was a mutual friend of ours that had introduced me to you, so I just happened to land on you. I've loved Mary Magdalene for a really long time, but she just said, go study with this man, William Henry. So I just show up. We spend three days together, and my friend flies in from Maine, and she really doesn't like flying. She doesn't like traveling. She's got this very significant tragedy she's been dealing with, quite spiritually, actually. And unbeknownst to me, while we were all in the workshop together, a friend of hers who she really doesn't know very well, but has sort of known for about 20 years, showed up on her doorstep while we were all in the training together and said, I understand you're headed to Sedona. Don't think I'm crazy, but I really, 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 really think that what's in this bottle could really, really help you.
Wow.
And my friend looked at this friend that she didn't really know and said, oh, okay, what is it? And she said, it's called Amanita. And she said, I'd really like you to have this. And I really think you need it when you go to Sedona. So she gets to Sedona, and I, like I said, I've loved Mary Magdalene, loved Jesus, but had never known any relationship between that and Amanita. Had never even really known anything about Amanita other than I've loved those little mushrooms in terms of their artistic beauty in a lot of paintings. And so she shows up on the last day of our training, and says to me, I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but I have something in a bottle I was supposed to bring to Sedona, and it's called Amanita. And I about lost my mind. And I was like, I just spent 3 full days studying this. This is blowing my mind. And so you'll recall I brought another woman to the training with me. And so the 3 of us prayed, and we just sort of like came into relationship with this thing called Amanita. And there's a longer story I won't go into with everybody, but I just wanted to say, share the testimony of this extraordinary you know, synergy, non-coincidence of,
Yeah.
but there's been a lot of beautiful things that have happened since your training. And I just wanted to share that on the off chance anybody else has had some kind of beautiful sacred synchronicity since this beautiful weekend we all had together.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Cornelia. That's beautiful.
Yeah, on that note, William, I have to share one more thing with you guys. It's just funny. There was if I can find it. Dang, where's my desktop? There's oh, I don't know if I can find it. Let me get it. Okay. After the workshop, I was watching this 60 Minutes thing about a nuclear sub, and
Right.
the guy who's in charge of launching the missiles has this on his keys.
What?
So maybe we are in good hands.
That's so funny.
That's very funny.
That's wonderful.
Her story reminded me of that, so I wanted to.
Golly, it's hysterical.
Okay, guys. Any
Well-
other last minutes? Okay.
I'll think of something later.
Can we do this again sometime, Robert?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We'll set something up in another month or so, maybe.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, that'd be fun. I really enjoy that.
Okay. Fantastic.
All
Nice
right.
having all you on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody. Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year.
Thank
Much
you
love
so
and
much.
blessings.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks to you
God
all.
bless.
Yeah,
See
thank
you
you.
soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
God
Bye-bye.
bless. Bye.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.